So good morning. My name is Kerry Forster. I'm the Chief Executive of the Workboat Association, and I'm today's host. I welcome you to session 3 of Get Set for Workboat 2050 on behalf of the Commercial Marine Network, in partnership with Maritime Journal and Seawork, and in association with the Workboat Association. The event is also supported by the Society of Maritime Industries and the UK Harbour Masters Association. The event topic today is incentivising decarbonisation, exploring different approaches to incentivisation. Now, to prepare for these events, the organisational teams sit together, and once the season's topics have been decided, we start mapping out an overview of the topics, the stakeholders and the experts that we could talk to in order to make a good programme. Who should we be inviting to talk, and what details should they discuss? For this event, we marked out who were the countries that had made the headlines with maritime decarbonisation plans, who had called industry together to unite the understanding, and who had promised the most resources to help make these plans a reality. We ended with a number of opportunities. The top 5 global countries in terms of resources allocated to decarbonisation of maritime. But when we got speaking to the various global teams, the reality was harder to understand. In terms of global trade, the largest flag states are not specifically the earliest adopters to put commitments on paper, nor are they necessarily pushing the largest resources into this commitment. We have today gathered together a group of experts who can really speak from their experience working closely with governments and sectors who have not only made plans on paper, but have committed and spent serious amounts of money, time and other resources to make sure that maritime decarbonisation happens at the right time and with the best support. Today's session is being recorded, and I want to make you all aware of some of the functions that are available. There is a chat function, and we encourage you to open the chat function on your screen and use this throughout the session. Please introduce yourselves and give us your comments, but however, please do not use this function to ask your questions. There is a separate questions and answer section. We'll give the opportunity for delegates to ask questions to the panel at the end of the session. Please type any questions in the Q&A section throughout the event, and our moderator will address these to the speakers during the panel's discussion. If you're directing your question to a specific speaker, please start the question with the speaker's name. As ever, we try to collate and answer as many questions as possible today, but we apologise if this isn't possible in all cases. You should be able to access contact information for all today's speakers. If we cannot answer your question right now, please make sure that you contact them after the event. And for those in the audience, please do take the opportunity to make sure that you familiarise yourself with all of the presentations which are available in the handouts. With a superb agenda to get through, I won't take any more of your time, and I hand over to our resident moderator, Andy Page of Chartwell Marine. Andy, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Kerry. And thank you everyone for joining session 3 today of our Get Set for 2050 programme. So as Kerry said, today's session is on incentivising decarbonisation, exploring different approaches to incentivisation. With so many pressures being placed on vessel operators in a highly competitive international market, what incentives are there for companies to actively pursue decarbonisation? And how much of a focus should that be for vessel owners and vessel operators? So as Kerry said, we have 3 speakers today who come with experience in this field. Today's first speaker is Narve Majos. Narve is Vice President of DMV Maritime and founder of the Green Shipping Programme. Narve has comprehensive experience from technical and economical analysis, software quality, risk management, certification, business development, and line management in several industries, including space, energy, and maritime. Since January 2013, Narve has been responsible for DMV's battery-related services and projects in the maritime industry. He is the founder of the Maritime Battery Forum in 2014 and founder and leader of Green Shipping Programme from 2015. So today, Narve is going to present on the Norwegian Green Shipping Programme, Nave, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for the introduction. The Green Shipping Program is a public-private partnership program, but it's also a tool for green competitiveness, and it has become a national program in Norway. We see a paradigm shift ongoing in the maritime industry where emissions will be regulated, and it will get the cost both directly and indirectly. And we increasingly see green demands from the market, from investors and employees and the public in general. From the very beginning, we saw that the climate change and new requirements is a significant business opportunity for the Norwegian maritime industry. The vision of the program is to establish the world's most efficient, environmentally friendly shipping. The program is about large and profitable emission reductions. Altogether, 9% of the Norwegian CO2 emissions is coming from domestic shipping. It is about sustainable and cost-effective logistics solutions. And we have seen the last 3 to 4 years, we have put a lot of emphasis on cargo owners and collaborating with them. And this is making a big difference. It is about green jobs and also an increased competitive advantage, primarily with being first with respect to new green technologies and new zero-emission fuels. And we would like to be a front runner in green shipping. When we were established back in 2015, it was 16 private organizations and 2 ministries from the government. Today we have grown to more than 100 participants, including 11 observers from the public sector. So the program is a joint effort where all major players in the value chain is participating. That is the authorities setting the frame conditions. It is the cargo owners, the ship owners, the ports, and also the yards and the vendors of technologies and services, and also green fuels. This is the program in a nutshell. We do studies, and maybe the most important study we have done was the one we did before we started the battery revolution within the ferry sector in Norway, resulting in more than 70 all-electric battery ferries on the Norwegian waters. We have started our pilots, and we have a separate unit funded 100% by the government, where we are performing or helping the industry to scale. So we get a green fleet renewal of cargo ships, where we have 2 tracks, one for ship owners and one for cargo owners. And we have decided also this year to establish one for the public procurement. And we facilitate the dialogue and collaboration such that public and private leaders and politicians can take informed decisions. We have started or initiated 45 pilots, 17 of them are realized or under construction. So those are the green on the left side. And then we have the ongoing on the right side here. And you see the biggest group is the light blue, which are really under maturing. So one very important thing we do is also clearly to communicate what is missing if we are not able to realize pilots. So, for instance, the biggest barrier we have these days, as we can see it, is that the zero-emission fuel is very, very expensive, independent of what fuel it is. So, if we are talking hydrogen or ammonia, it is 3 to 5 times as expensive as conventional fuel. If you look at the column to the far left, when we started in 2015, the pilot owner was normally a ship owner, and the technology was LNG, and in most cases in combination with battery power. Then we went into a phase where we had more emphasis on infrastructure and ports. And the last 2 to 4 years, we have had most focus on cargo owners and the finance sector with great success. Cargo owners are the guys that shall request or require green transportation, and they pay a bit extra for that type of service. And the finance sector shall give beneficial funding to green projects. Some years, the cargo owners said to us, when we tried to make them to collaborate, that come back to us when you have something that is cheaper and better. So there were a very little readiness for collaboration at all. Many of these cargo owners, they are big companies such as Equinor, Heidelberg Cement in Germany, etc. And they have got these days corporate strategies with respect to emission reductions. And that gives also opportunities for the logistics department. So the attitude to collaborate and investigate how things can develop and what it will cost. For instance, if you have a CO2 price of 200 euro per ton, then most of the green fuels, they are competitive, and you don't need subsidizing at all compared to fossil fuels. And of course, it's important both for cargo owners and ship owners to be aware of this. And also for the finance sector, then they increasingly see the brown risk and would like to channel funding into green projects. In year 2000, in Norway, we got our first LNG-powered ferry. It was Glutra. In 2015, we got our first all-electric ferry. It was Ampere. And this year, we will have Hydra powered by hydrogen. It is the Norwegian public road authorities that really has taken action here, and the provinces has followed up. So all these 3 projects, both with LNG, with batteries, and with hydrogen, there has been issued development contracts where the ferry operators, which are private in Norway, in contrary to in many other countries, they have there are 4 of them, and all have learned about the new technologies and fuels. So this has really resulted then in 243 battery ships altogether, which are in operation or under constructions. And then we have between 70 and 80 of these ships, they are, or vessels, they are ferries. So it's the biggest segment, and it is then, let's say, setting the scene with respect to other segments as well. I think the key point is here. I think the key point is that nothing of this would have been possible without the leadership from the state and green public procurement. And we still see that as a complete necessity. The governments, the public sector has to take the lead, be in front with respect to the green shift in general. We can also see that back on the figure to the right here, that back in 2009, 2010, it was less than 10 battery-powered ships. And today, there are more than 600 altogether in the world, if you count both in operation and under construction. And this development is just continuing. So our message to the politicians is that we have to do this with other fuels as well, for instance, with hydrogen and ammonia. And being first will give also a competitive advantage to the vendors and of technologies and fuels and also services. I mentioned that we have this service office for fleet renewal of cargo ship, and in the portfolio we have is consisting of 22 zero-emission projects altogether with 39 ships. 21 of these projects are powered by a forward-leaning cargo owner and one by a forward-leaning ship owner. Most of these projects are about compressed hydrogen and ammonia. So it is a fact that very few ship owners really take the opportunity then to explore possibilities. But in the case where you have green market, when you have cargo owners that are willing to pay for green transportation and request a green transportation, then the ship owners are more than willing to go ahead. For instance, with Felleskjøp Heidelberg Cement, in the upper left corner, these are two cargo owners that are collaborating within the frame of the green shipping program. One of them are transporting corn from the east of Norway to the west, and the other one construction masses in the other direction, stone and sand and that type of stuff. When they issued then a competition for a 15 years contract with zero emissions transportation between the west and east of Norway, 31 Norwegian and European ship owners showed their interest, and I think it was 23 that gave complete offers with respect to that 15-year zero-emission contract. And it was a rather small Norwegian ship owner in Trondheim in Norway that won the contract. And it was very interesting to see that this ship owner he had been very early with respect to installing LNG and batteries and a lot of different type of emission reduction measures, etc. So he got some benefits from that. So
Norway, perhaps we could pause there and regroup at the joint discussion later, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Leo, if I could ask you to turn your camera on there, Leo. So our second speaker this morning is Leo Hambro. He's co-founder and commercial director of Tidal Transit. Is passionate in particular about electrification of the marine sector. Leo has been running Tidal Transit since 2011 and has a fleet of 6 CTVs. Tidal Transit also has a joint venture with Louis Dreyfus Amateurs with a further 3 CTVs in operation in France. Tidal Transit have also partnered with MJR Power and Automation in developing offshore charging for crew transfer vessels. Leo, I'm going to hand over and let you roll straight into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Addy, and also thank you to Maritime Journal for allowing me to speak here. We are a small company in the offshore wind sector, but are determined to be leading the way when it comes to decarbonisation. So, first of all, just give you a very quick intro into who we are. Just explaining where Andy came from. We started as a fishing business. We have developed into a wind farm support business, established 2011. We've got 6 boats in our fleets here in the UK. We've been involved in various different technologies and proving it into the market, both on an efficiency basis and also focusing on the carbon effect of it, including the CES technology, and working in France with Louis Dreyfus. So the offshore wind sector is a very interesting one because especially the CTV side, because there's no commoditized design. So it becomes a very difficult market from the outset to look at in terms of decarbonizing, because so many different hull forms, so many different propulsion systems, because each different wind farm site requires a slightly different specification. Maybe it's a draft issue in the port that they're working, or the distance from shore. Some projects are virtually on the beach, whereas others like Hornsea or Dogger are 100 miles offshore. But the thing that brings all of the CTV or the wind farm access boats together is about getting there as quickly as possible, so that the turbine technicians can spend as much time on the turbine per day to increase the yield. And with higher speed comes higher fuel or higher energy consumption. Although it's a difficult sector of the market to decarbonize, it actually is a great sector because our clients are producing a usable power form or power form at the source of or the destination of where we're actually going. So there are different solutions for sites, but there's a solution now. So to just briefly on our plan, or not on our plan, but our journey, I guess, so far. First of all, it's about trying to find any gains possible where possible, about efficiency, about trying to make sure the technicians are ready when you get to the turbine, so you don't spend too long simply just pushing the boat onto the tower, minimizing fuel consumption through that. Working with the client to find the right operating profile, where possible, to be sending boats that are servicing multiple boats in the field at the time. Trying to work so that they're working on the same areas per boat, so you're not sending one from one end of the turbine to the field to the other end of the field in the same day. Then we started looking at alternatives, solutions to try and find savings. We looked at the biofuel market and trialed 100% HVO. As complicated as HVO may be in terms of sourcing, it's the finest quality diesel there is, so we were delighted to use that. Unfortunately, as was mentioned earlier, biofuels or alternative fuels are more costly than diesel. We also work with a company called EcoMotors and their catalytic hydrogen system, which has been very clever. It's an additional bolt-on to our engines, which takes a small amount of power from the engine, uses hydrolysis to break distilled water, and we eject a small amount of hydrogen and oxygen back into the engine to make the engine burn cleaner. But we reduce fuel consumption by up to 20% and NOx emissions, really importantly, by about 60%. So there are little things that you can do to try and find gains, which can amount to quite a lot over the years. But where we really need to go is trying to take that big leap towards full decarbonisation, and that's where our projects have been heading. And this is briefly about electric. It's all about electric, but it's trying to find ways of sourcing that electricity and then using the right hull forms to use that electricity, which brought us into our incentivized programs from DFT. So we were involved in one of the first projects, which is a Clean Maritime Demonstration, CMDC round 1, focused on offshore charging with NJR, Power and Automation, Blackfish Engineering, Artemis Technologies, Execo as the wind farm owner or manager, I should say, where the task was to develop a charger that was actually taking power from the turbine. It was a very good scheme, although there was extreme pressure on us as a consortium to be very quick in delivering it. We only had 7 months to go from drawing to actually having built the charger and installing it. And supply lead time issues during 2020 and 2021 meant that we didn't actually install it onto the turbine, but the system is built, and we were trialing it up in Blythe last week. But it was a very good program. All the consortium members worked very well together. We've now set up a company to sell the product, which is very exciting, and are getting good traction within the market. The important thing for me was that I can't deliver an electric boat unless there is infrastructure to be able to facilitate it, to be able to power it. So that was our first incentivized project. Second was working with Artemis Technologies on using their e-foiling or foiling workboat to create a crew transfer vessel. It's about trying to reduce drag. Their hull form reduces drag by 80%. But this was, again, a very interesting project. This project was very much about a feasibility study funded through CMDC1. We had, it was us, it was ORE Catapult, Artemis Technologies, Tidal Transit, and the successful project has now allowed us to move into the next rounds of CMDC, leading to a successful CMDC2 project, which is about the full detailed design of the 24-meter catamaran foiling vessel, which we're very, very excited about, which will be delivered late 24, early 2025. But this is we were very fortunate to be able to get some funding to be able to put the full design of this together, because there is quite a lot of risk involved in going as advanced with this type of very new technology. So this was a CMDC2 project. We have now been successful in a CMDC3 project as well, where we're actually going to be demonstrating the monohull alongside other CTVs at a wind farm, so that we can show the utilization of charging systems. We can show the efficiency and comfort of the foiling systems on a monohull. So gives a representation for daughter crafts, but also proving the technology for the larger vessel. And we have a good consortium behind that, which a press release will be issued very shortly about that, so everyone can see more about it. But it is incredibly exciting that the DFT funded project has allowed this to get to this stage. Then going forward is what next. So UK Shore has more money to spend. The next projects are ZEV, Zero Emissions Vessels and Infrastructure, I think it stands for. So we're going to be making 2 applications into this. One is for building a full e-foiler vessel, catamaran vessel. There is a requirement as part of ZEV that there's a 3-year demonstration period of 3-year operations period, I should say, of technology, which we're working on getting all that lined up at the moment. But very excited, because it comes also with not just delivering the boat, but also the infrastructure required to deliver it. And we have found that it has been difficult to get full buy-in from a wind farm owner for this shift, because of nervousness about technology involved in the charging, in the vessel, and the funding and the incentivization is getting over a lot of those issues. The second project is going to be a retrofit project of one of our existing vessels. which it works very well for a nearshore project. Strip and install makes it sound very simple. And again, we need to find a three-year demonstration site for that, which we're working on. And I think that we would like to be involved in more ZEV projects, because I think that the opportunity that's been given to us through this, or opportunity that's available to all of us, I should say, through the DFT UK Shore Programme, should encourage more ship owners. And I'm surprised that there haven't been quite as many as I was expecting to be part of this, and certainly a lack of some of my competitors being involved in this. Maybe to my advantage, but I think we should all be looking at trying to find ways of decarbonising. And really, I think pretty much the last thing is how to incentivise. Not just, I think there's a requirement to incentivize not just us as owners, but also also our clients. So when talking to Ørsteds or the likes, when they actually are applying to take on a license of a wind farm, then some of the scoring should be on the decarbonisation effect that can happen through using new technology to reduce vessels. So there's an open question on how to incentivize the rest of the market. But Andy, you'll be pleased to know that is me. That is me done. And a simple message: electrify everything. So why not?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Leo. Great presentation. Our final speakers today, we have two speakers. If I could ask you to join on the screen. Professor John Hudson, CBE, and Dr. Weijun Wang. John originally trained as a naval architect, has over 40 years experience in advanced ship design and shipbuilding. Started in the commercial shipbuilding sector before becoming engineering director and subsequently moving into executive leadership in the naval shipbuilding sector. John has worked on many of the UK's major naval programs, including HMS Ocean, the Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers, and the Dreadnought submarines, amongst many other programs, both UK and export. As MARI UK director, John is responsible for leading the core team, establishing strategic goals, making key decisions, and providing strategic advice to the strategy board and chairperson. Dr. Weijun Wang joined MARI UK core team as program manager in October 2021. After obtaining her PhD in engineering design, she was involved in several research projects in the maritime sector. She then worked as program manager for 7 years at the Advanced Forming Research Centre, where she managed a number of research programs, including metal forming and forgery. As well as overseeing MARI UK funded projects, she also leads and drives MARI UK innovation efforts, ensuring alignment with MARI UK research agenda and roadmap, along with engaging with potential new members. So today, John is going to introduce MARI UK, and Weijun will then present UK and European case studies on MARI UK collaborative projects. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words about MARI UK. As you say, I'm going to do a brief introduction, and then I'll hand over to Weijun, who will take you through the latest sort of thoughts around research and innovation and some of the projects that we've been involved with. At its heart, Maritime Research and Innovation UK is looking to foster collaboration across government, industry, and academia to deliver benefits to the UK maritime sector. So that's its sort of fundamental ambition. As I say, the aim is to increase the competitive position of the UK maritime sector. The focus is looking for those opportunities and those things in new technology that we can exploit to deliver that aim. And one of our core things is around collaboration. I think we've done quite a good job in building like a very strong collaborative relationship across the UK academia. So most of the universities that have a maritime interest, we're very closely engaged with those and have built a strong collaborative theme across those organizations. And when we seek to exploit that with industry and with government to build collaborative programs, if we can get industry to share in the research and innovation programs, and of course they can benefit from, you know, if they put 25% in, they can get 100% of the benefit. So we're looking very much to pull together those collaborative programs. And MARI UK was established in 2019, and that was based on the sort of principle or the concern that the maritime sector was not really benefiting from research and innovation in the way that other engineering sectors were. So the aerospace sector, the automotive sector, A, were attracting more government funding, and B, were working better and more collaboratively to introduce innovation into the sector. And there was less of that in the maritime sector. And there's some reasons for that, not least of which is the maritime sector is very, very diverse. So that was the reason that MARI UK was set up. And I think we've made some progress. We haven't expanded our membership as much as we might have wanted to. We lost a bit of momentum in the COVID issues. We've got a very strong relationship across academia. Our industrial membership is, we do have ship owners, but it's got quite a strong defence theme at the moment, and we want to expand that into more ship owners, ship operators, and ports. So that's our ambition. I'll just say a few words about research. So our original themes focused on 4 main themes: autonomy, lots of opportunity for improved or increased autonomy in the marine sector. And that would improve competitiveness and reduce costs, which then I think can offset some of the potential increases in costs with clean maritime and decarbonisation. But that's a big theme as well. And then, of course, with our sort of strong membership in defence, a lot of interest in digitisation and how we can exploit that technology in both ship building, but also in ship support. And then ship support, remote sensing, and surveying and condition monitoring, and all those sort of themes as well. And that's moved on a little bit, which Wenjuan is going to explain in a moment. So our aim is to build collaboration across the sector, to utilize the resources that we can in the best way that we can. And I think another important theme for us is we recognize that the regulatory authorities play a really major part in innovation, and if we can't get the regulatory authorities to develop new processes for regulation and the approach to new technologies, it will be a real barrier. So we're working hard with our regulatory authorities to build relationships and get them involved in the innovation programs. Well, that's all I was going to say by way of a brief introduction, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Wenjuan.
Thank you, John. Morning, everyone. So what I will going to cover are our research approach and some recent collaboration projects as example case study, and also how MARI UK can support the UK maritime sector. Together with our members, we cover research through different programs. We initially received some funding from DFT, and some of them were used to fund some projects. In total, there were 23 projects in these 3 themes: so clean maritime, technology and innovation, and smart maritime land operations. I would say before CMDC program, so these projects, maybe they were the first batch of projects received the government funding to help UK achieve the Maritime 2050 vision. We are quite happy to see a few projects those completed. The outputs from those projects already fed into the recent CMDC program. So if you are interested in any of our projects, so go to our website, you will be able to see some a final report from a few projects, and we are currently uploading a few more there as well. Another pilot is our members' research work. So this is funded by our membership fee, and this research are based on the roadmap you saw in the previous slides John showed, and these are based on the members' requirements and voting. So currently for our 2023-24 program, so we will focus on 3 themes: so clean maritime, autonomy, and digital. And the activities are currently being planned. So once the research are completed, so we will share all the research output with all our members. Some other research, so we'll cover, so one is our flagship program. So those are those that the program that can deliver significant UK benefit and inspire new technology solutions. And the one we are currently working is called Zero Carbon Coastal Highways, and some of you might already heard about this. And through this, we are trying to realize a modal shift of freight logistics. So to transfer from road to clean coastal highway, so that we can reduce the carbon footprints, leveling up the areas where around the smaller ports, and reduce the road accident and the cost of road maintenance as well. So in addition, it will also support the infrastructure upgrade along the ports. And we, in the meantime, we also respond to external opportunities, such as a recent funding called ZEV, so Zero Emission Vessel and Infrastructure, and also the Maritime Research Hub. So if any of you would like to collaborate with Mari UK and working on some of those proposals, so please do contact us. Next, I'll show you a few research examples. So they are all collaborative projects, either through DFT-funded program or done by our academic members through other funding. There are quite a lot to choose, but I just choose a few to reflect different types of collaboration, or also cover various alternative fields and innovations. So this Wave Master 0C was led by Baby Marine. They conducted a comprehensive study of alternative fuels for the service vessel, and in order to identify the best suited low or zero emission fuel for the next generation SOV. The next one, so they, as you see in the middle picture, so Voyager. So this is the UK's first fully electric domestic passenger ferry and led by Plymouth Boat Trips. I would say the importance of this project is that it kickstarted the development of new rules and regulations for novel propulsion systems in smaller vessels. In addition to our Mari UK managed projects, so our academic members also very active in collaboration projects and with very strong international collaboration there. So the high ship, so this one on the right is led by, University of Strathclyde. They do involve, but work together with 13 European partners. And they aim to design and construct a new demonstration vessel run on liquid hydrogen fuel. So currently it's under testing and plan to launch this year. So the next here, so you see on the right hand, the Ship FC is another European collaboration project, and with University of Strathclyde involved, so aims to retrofit a 2 megawatt ammonia fuel cell on this offshore vessel. And this will be the first time a high-power ammonia fuel cell to be installed on a vessel. So that's quite innovative there as well. And on the right, left hand, so this Access project, this was completed by University College London in collaboration with Stevens Institute of Technology from the US. So that investigated a new autonomous navigation system for unmanned service vessel. So the system will be used to support offshore wind farm inspection as well. It just so the last one, just I want to summarize with our support available by Mari UK. So basically with our expertise, so with a network of experts in different areas, so we will, with the knowledge and expertise we have, so we'll be able to provide consultancy, and we also organize events and workshops for the members and the stakeholders. So we are planning to have more of this more regularly. And we also advocate and represent the interest of our members by raising awareness of the importance of research and innovation. So and also the collaboration in the maritime sector. So this is quite important. So that's basically available support from us. So yeah, we have the contact here. So if you would like to contact us, please feel free to do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Rajan. Thank you. Could I invite all of the speakers, including Kerry, to join for a panel discussion? If you could turn your cameras on, please. If I could just ask everyone to mute whilst that's it, great. So Kerry, if I may, I know you attended an event last week, which was the MCA Decarbonising Offshore Wind Vessels Conference. Can you give us a quick summary of what was talked about and what was learned?
Yeah, certainly. So the event last night, last week, which I was actually joined by Wenjuan and Leo at, was to discover some of the current hurdles to decarbonising the fleet in offshore wind, some of the opportunities, bring some unification between all sides of industry and different sides of the government as well. Finance and incentives were quite largely talked about as a topic, I think. And really what Nave was saying earlier, specifically in Norway, is that they wouldn't have got where they are without the government's help. And that's definitely true of in the UK. Through the research that we did for this series, as I said earlier, we actually discovered that the UK was the second highest global committed government in terms of resources for decarbonising maritime as we stand, which is really, incredible. So we need to make sure that we make the use of government's opportunities that they're giving us and also steer them correctly. There was an independent third-party financial overview made of the sector, which we joined in with as part of the Workboat Association, and the MCA did as well. And they discovered that if we're going to decarbonise the whole of the maritime industry, the costs that are involved in that are just absolutely astronomical. We can do it on a case-by-case basis, which is what everyone's doing now within the private sector. If we do one boat in our fleet or maybe two new builds, for example, we can start putting small costs in on a step-by-step process. But if we're going to look at trying to decarbonise full fleets or full sectors, like the whole of the offshore wind industry, we're talking billions, and it's more than a private sector can actually achieve on their own. So basically, this isn't going to happen without government input. But we've heard from two governments today which are committing to that. So,
Absolutely. I guess, Nave, from your experience, it's 8 years now. What are the most important learnings through that time period?
Now, collaboration is very high on the agenda. Collaboration between the authorities and the industry, and we have to make the politicians really to understand how they are going to achieve their political goals, and they have to respect the framework that the industry is working below, and they have to understand that nobody is doing the green shift for the green shift of kindness. It is or of idealistic reasons. There must be a framework which encourage the green shift in such a way that the guys that takes the risk will be the winners with respect to the green shift and new technologies and green transportation for the future. So and also regulations are very important in conjunction with this. And of course, the CO2 fee will be very, very important. And it will help the governments in such a way that they don't have to subsidize from here to the heaven, but just in an intermediate period when you have this piloting time now until 2030, because if we shall reach the Paris Agreement and the IMO goals, there has to happen a scaling, large way scaling from 2030 to 2050. And we have to test out these years, use them to large extent to test out what should the scalable solutions be. And I think so. And also I think that the governments, they have to be in front with respect to green procurement. So this is an enormous tool they have to also not only costs, but also environmental gains and CO2 emissions, etc. This is maybe the most important thing that we say that government should do for the next years, is really green procurement, and they have to pay a bit extra for the additional costs, and that is the situation.
Thank you, Narve. One thing that I've experienced in some of the projects we've been involved with is collaboration, not just with UK companies, but also overseas, and in particular Norway, with respect to batteries, electric motors, and hardware. Leo, fantastic cross-channel partnership that you formed with Louis Dreyfus. Are France offering similar maritime projects that you're aware of? Is there any more collaboration you can see in that direction?
I know that my French colleagues are already involved in a zero emissions project with some grant funding. I don't believe it's as beneficial as the UK systems. I think Kerry's pointed out earlier that the UK and Norway do seem to be leading this sector, but I think it's only a matter of time until every government around the world needs to really step up to the plate and start incentivizing opportunities. And if there's benefits in terms of not only pushing the maritime sector towards decarbonisation, but also incentivizing shipbuilding in those countries, or the development of the technology involved in the building of ships or the running of ships, it will have significant benefits to the countries that take the first steps.
Absolutely, and I think that is evidenced in Norway, looking at the amount of technology that has come out of it and what's being installed. On that note, is the programme for Norwegian projects only, Narve, or can a UK or European ship owner collaborate with Norwegian supply chain projects? I think I noticed a couple, maybe a Greek ferry or something. Can you just explain a little bit about that? Just unmute for us there, Narve. Thank you.
The Green Shipping Program is a national program, but for instance, companies that have offices in Norway are free to participate. And also in Greece now we are trying to have a so-called export pilot. It is 8 years since we put the all-electric battery ferry Ampere on the water, and we can see that Greece is in a similar situation today. They have money from the European Union. There is a desire by the ship owners to get all-electric ferries on water. So it is very timely to do activities in Greece, then in collaboration, so things that will benefit both Norwegian companies and Greek companies. So I think they are mature now for doing something significant. And the Greek fleet is also very big globally, and they have a lot of islands, etc. So a lot of similarities as Norway.
Absolutely, and as do we in the Scottish Hebrides, etc. So very important to learn some of the things that have been learnt in Norway and bring over. John and Wei-Zhen, one of the issues that I consider is a challenge going forward for industry and these R&D projects is skills and resourcing. How is MARI UK helping with that, and obviously university collaborations, etc.? How is that prevailing going forward?
No, skills is going to be a central theme for taking this technology forward. MARI UK is engaged in a number of ways. First, there's work going on in the National Shipbuilding Office to look at the maritime, so particularly sort of maritime design, build and support sector. So there's a huge piece of work going on to identify what those challenges are. I think also the universities are very involved, and we're involved in a program for ensuring that we have a supply of PhDs, so that that we've got a good base of people with maritime skills that can go on into the industry and take technology forward. So we see skills as very much a central challenge in the sector, and we're certainly involved in a number of activities to identify the skill shortages and do things about sorting them out.
Yeah, and I guess, Leo, you're as part of your project, presumably there's quite a lot of training for your crews and for your engineers in electrification and obviously foiling.
Yeah, so one of the things I was delighted to hear about last week at the MCA Decarb event was we were talking about skills in one of the forums, and they were talking about how the approved engine course that's gone from being just approved engine course 1 and now approved engine course 2, that the MCA are working on a number 3, which will include focus on future fuels and high voltage, which would be very, very beneficial, I think, across all types of new maritime vessels. Whether it's an MGO hybrid or a hydrogen hybrid or a methanol hybrid, there's going to be batteries involved in almost all of these vessels going forwards, and high voltage is going to be an area of shortage of expertise, as it already is in the technician side of the wind farm industry that we're involved in. But I think there's another problem. There's just a lack of mariners, full stop, that we need to try and tackle. That's a different subject altogether.
Absolutely. Kerry, is there anything you wanted to add to that from Workboat Association's perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as an association, we're actively involved in not only the seafarer side of things, but collectively the whole maritime industry, making people aware of the opportunities and employment within the sector. So something that we call sea blindness, people who are unaware of the roles that there can be, or the careers that can be associated with the maritime industry. Something else that I'm personally doing is that I'm sitting on the UK Shipbuilding Skills Task Force, which, as John was mentioning earlier, through the National Shipbuilding Office. They've actually set up a task force to try and look at how do we make sure that we can get the right skills together and produce some of these demonstratable projects that we've got currently now, and make them, as Nave was also saying, how do we make them scalable and make them, proper retail opportunities? So I think also, going back to last week's event, we heard from David at Artemis, and they were talking a bit about, how their company's growing in Belfast. And I always see career opportunities from them and a lot of other of our members. It's something that we're all working very hard to try and educate people on the opportunities are there. But I think we also need a bit of education ourselves on how to correctly entice those people. If we look at, for example, software skills are something that we never really had before within shipbuilding or maritime. But it's something now that nearly every boat that's afloat has got some kind of software on it that's been built since 2000 onwards. And it's something that's becoming more and more powerful. But how do we get those people that potentially have trained at universities and cities and quite like the city life, and try and draw them into maritime, which is either in coastal areas or offshore? So we also have to think ourselves about, how do we entice those people?
Absolutely, and I think that the skills side is going to be as important, if not more important, than the R&D we're doing into decarbonisation. If we don't have that future capability, then we can't scale it. So something that's going to be very prevalent going forward. And I'm sure our colleagues from Norway, Nave, can share some learnings, and hopefully we can grow that in the forthcoming 3 years. So thank you very much to all of our speakers for presenting, and thank you very much to the audience for taking part. A recording of this event will be made available to all registered attendees next week. Our next session of Get Set for 2050 will take place on the 20th of April from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. And quite aptly, the focus is green skills, learning green skills at sea with practical demonstrations. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating, and see you again in April.